What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the top 3 best builds in Throne and Liberty. So at the start I will give you a quick overview of each build. Then I will explain what skills and upgrades should you focus on. Then as well I will show you what is the best gear and how to get it. And then finally we will go over the weapon masteries, your skill rotations, and even what guardian should you use. So we would be able to get the highest damage possible and much more. So let's move over to the first build, which is the crossbow and the daggers. This setup right now offers the highest single target damage in the game. The reason behind this is that we will be able to constantly reach 20 stacks of thunderclouds, which will enable us to use our thunderclouds bombing skill for every 3 to 4 seconds for massive amounts of damage. So let's take a look at our setup. And first of all we have our skills. So for the defensive skill we use the Black Blade, while for active skills we get the Inject Venom, Mother Nature Protest, Selfless Diffusion, Mortal Mark, Nimble Leap, Quick Fire, Mana Exchange, Knife Throwing, Fatal Stigma, Cleaving Moonlight, Brutal Incision, and Weak Point Shot. As you can see from the gameplay, I don't have all of these same skill icons on my bar. This is because the icons will change depending on our specialization setup. So Inject Venom will turn into the Lightning Infusion, and Brutal Incision will turn into the Thunderclouds Bombing. And then for passive skills we get the Bloodlust, Nature's Power, Ambidexterity, Piercing Strike, Assassin's Instincts, Wrathful Edge, Destructive Fang, and Murderous Energy. Next we have the skill specialization, and for Inject Venom we get the Lightning Infusion and cooldown reduction. Then for Selfless Diffusion don't get anything. Then for Nimble Leap select the consecutive use and cooldown reset. Then for Mana Exchange get the skill effect enhanced. Then for Fatal Stigma get the damage increase. Then for Brutal Incision select the Thunderclouds Bombing. Then for Mother Nature's Protest get the Lightning Arrow. Then for Mortal Mark don't get anything. Then for Quick Fire select the minimum chain fire, damage increased and cooldown. Then for Knife Throwing get the additional hit. Then for Cleaving Moonlight select the consecutive use, effect accumulation, and attack speed. And finally for Weak Point Shot don't select anything. Next we have the weapon mastery, and this is how it should look like for the crossbow. So first of all get the middle, and then the entire bottom row. And then again this is how it should look like for the daggers. So pretty much the same thing, just get the middle and then the bottom row. Next let's take a look at our gear, and all of this you can easily farm yourself. If you are looking for a farming build that uses green gear, then check out my leveling guides that are already up on the channel. So we are using the Steel Flurry crossbow, with traits like the hit chance, heavy attack chance, and critical hit. This should be self-explanatory, but all gear should be at its max level, so 6 for green and 9 for blue and purple. And you can get this items crafting recipe from conquest rewards such as the Spectral Abyss or the Cave of Desperation. Next we have the Daggers of Resistance, with hit chance, heavy attack chance, and critical hit chance. You can get it from the Precious Blessing pouch, or by defeating the Evil Eye, Adentus, Chernobog, or the Armadillo. Next we have the Feather Jakeskin Mask, with ranged evasion, magic evasion, and max health. You can get it from the Roaring Temple or the Cursed Wasteland. Next we have the Deadeye Cloak with skill damage resistance, debuff duration, and mana regen. You can get it from the Precious Blessing pouch, or by defeating the Galu Archers and the Dark Assassin. Next we have the Soul Mirror Carapace, with ranged evasion, magic evasion, and buff duration. You can only get it from the Cave of Destruction. Next we have the Nature's End Gloves, with added attack speed, max health, and melee evasion. You can get it from the Cave of Desperation or from the Temple of the Slaughter. Next we have the Feathered Drakeskin Breeches, with magic evasion, mana regen, and ranged evasion. You can get it from the Cursed Wasteland. Next we have the Glade Stalker Boots, with ranged evasion, magic evasion, and max health. You can get it from the Spectral Abyss or the Cave of Destruction, or as well by defeating the Mutant Test Subject, the Sluggish Zombie, or the Ghoul. Next we have the Ecliptic Pendant with skill damage boost, buff duration, and mana regen. You can only get it from the Butcher's Canyon Conquest. Next we have the Bracers of the Primal King, with max health, skill damage resistance, and debuff duration. You can get it from the Licorious Equipment Chest, or from the Cave of Destruction. Next we have the Violent Signet with max health, skill damage boost, and buff duration. You can get it from the Cursed Wasteland Conquest. Next we have the Ring of Robustness with mana regen and skill damage boost. You can get it from the uncommon accessory chest or by defeating the Evil Eye. And finally we have the Belt of Meditation with max health and skill damage resistance. You can get it from the uncommon chests or by defeating the Spectral Wizard or the Orc Shadowmancer. Next up we have the stats, and depending on your gear you should adjust them accordingly. So at level 50 we want to get 50 dexterity and 30 perception, and then put the rest of your leftover points into the strength. Next we have our Guardian choice, and these creatures are special transformations that add offensive or defensive buffs to your character for 30 seconds. And the best one is the Shade Remnant Steno, because he shoots projectiles against all enemies around you. These projectiles that hit enemies will proc a bunch of different effects from our skills, so if you want an easy way to increase your DPS, then here it is. And then finally we have come to the rotation. So the highest damage rotation is to use the Lightning Infusion, then Mother Nature's Protest, then Fatal Stigma, then Mortal Mark, then Cleaving Moonlight, then Quick Fire, then Selfless Diffusion, then Thundercloud's Bombing, then Cleaving Moonlight again, and then the Thundercloud's Bombing again, and then from here we just rinse and repeat. So the quick idea behind this is that our first 3 skills will do damage and give us stacks, which then we use most of our DPS skills to do damage, and then lastly we activate the Thundercloud's Bombing with full 20 stacks for massive amounts of damage. If you are looking for a full in-depth guide for the crossbow and the daggers, then watch the full build guide video on my channel. So then for the second build we have the longbow and the staff. This setup is a glass cannon that deals huge amount of damage from a long range by maximizing our specific passives and items. You will need to manage your cooldowns effectively, but if you follow the instructions, then you will be nuking everyone that stands in our way. So let's take a look at our setup, and first of all we have our skills. And for the defensive skill we have the Overtaker, while for active skills I've chosen to go with the Serial Fire Bombs, Judgment Lightning, Ice Spear, Infernal Meteor, Nature's Blessing, Inner Peace, Zephyr Snack, Strafing, Deadly Marker, Ensnaring Arrow, Decisive Sniping, and the High Focus. And as you can see from the gameplay, I don't have all of these same skill icons on my bar. It is because the skill icons will change depending on our specialization setup. So the Serial Fire Bombs will turn into the Focus Fire Bombs, then the Ice Spear will turn into the Ice Spear Bombardment, and Infernal Meteor will turn into the Hellfire Rain. And then for passive skills we get the Rapid Fire Stance, Steady Aim, Sniper's Sense, Aestheticism, Mana Amp, Flame Condensation, Forbidden Sanctuary, and the Rock Seas Overhead. Next we have skill specialization, and for the Serial Fire Bombs we get the Focused Fire Bombs, Mobility and Projectile Speed Increase. Then for Ice Spear, select the Ice Spear Bombardment and the damage increase. Then for Nature's Blessing, get the Whirlpool attribute. Then for Zephyr Snack, get the damage increase and cooldown. Then for Deadly Marker, get the Bullseye. Then for Decisive Sniping, get everything besides the Divisive Bombardment. Then for Judgment Lightning, don't select anything. Then for Infernal Meteor, get the Hellfire Rain and cooldown. Then for Inner Peace, again don't select anything. Then for Strafing, get the Gale and consecutive use. Then for Ensnaring Arrow, get a hit chance. And finally for the High Focus, get the base damage boost. Next we have the Weapon Mastery, and this is how it should look like for the longbow. So get the middle first and then the entire bottom row. And then again, this is how it should look like for the staff. So pretty much the same thing, just get a middle and then the bottom row. Next let's take a look at the gear, and all of this you can easily farm yourself. If you're looking for a farming build that uses the green gear, then check out my leveling guides that are already up on the channel. So we are using the Karnix Nether Bow with hit chance, heavy attack chance and critical hit. Also, all of this gear should be at level 9, and you can get this items crafting recipe from Paola's Dimension Chest or from the Dead Abyss dungeon. Next we have Tobluk Shattering Quarterstaff with heavy attack chance, critical hit chance and hit chance. You can get it from the Paola's Dimension Chest or from the Tyrant's Isle dungeon. Next we have the Feathered Jackskin Mask with ranged evasion, magic evasion and max health. You can get it from the Roaring Temple or the Cursed Wasteland dungeon. Next we have the Supreme Devotion Cloak with mana regen, skill damage resistance and debuff duration. You can get it from the Cave of Destruction. Next we have the Swirling Essence Robe with the buff duration, mana regen and melee evasion. You can get it from bunch of chests like the tax delivery or the Kirtaki's armor chest, or by defeating the Queen Belander. Next we have the Gloom Guard gauntlets. With added attack speed, mana regen and melee evasion. You can get it from the Death Abyss or the Cave of Desperation. Next we have the Ruthless Enforcer leggings. With mana regen, melee evasion and ranged evasion. You can get it from the Tyrant's Isle dungeon. Next we have the Soul Mirror's boots. With movement speed, ranged evasion and magic evasion. You can get it from the Cursed Wasteland dungeon. Next we have the Ecliptic pendant. With skill damage boost, buff duration and mana regen. You can get it from the Butcher's Canyon. Next up we have the Ancient Sorrow Doma bracers. With skill damage resistance, mana regen and debuff duration. You can get it from the Tyrant's Isle and bunch of armor chests. Next we have the Violent Signet with buff duration, skill damage boost and max health. You can get it from the Cursed Wasteland. Next we have the Sapphire Dimensional Band with buff duration, skill damage boost and max health. You can only get it from the Purple Armor chest. And finally we have the Belt of the Midnight Hunt with skill damage resistance, mana regen and debuff duration. You can get it by defeating the Evil Eyes. Next up we have the stats, and depending on your gear you should adjust them accordingly. So at level 50 we want to get 50 strength and 40 perception, and then put the rest of your leftover points into dexterity, and ideally it should get to 40 as well. Next we have our guardian choice, and the best one is the Lady Knight Camarcia. If you constantly find yourself running out of mana as the boss is about to die, then just use her so you don't have to use our mana sustain combo. And finally we have come to the rotation. So the highest damage rotation is to use the High Focus, then Hellfire Rain, then Nature's Blessing, then Ensnaring Arrow, then Decisive Sniping, then Deadly Marker, then Focus Fire Bombs, then Ice Spear Bombardment, and then we finish it off with the Judgment Lightning and Rinse and Repeat. If you ever run into the mana problem, then just use the Nature's Blessing and then the Inner Peace, and this will give you a mana sustain, but of course this is optional. So if you're looking for a full in-depth guide for the bow and staff, and why do we exactly do what I show you, then I recommend for you to watch the full build guide video on my channel. And then for the last and final build, we have the greatsword and daggers. This setup is a melee assassin, and thanks to their passives, items and skills, we will be able to do very high damage. Once you fully build it, we will reach over 300 damage boost and 500 plus heavy attack chance. So in short, we will be doing incredible amount of damage for a melee player. So with that said, let's take a look at our setup. And first of all, we have our skills, and for the defensive skill, we get the Block Blade. And then for active skills, we go with the Stunning Blow, Cleaving Moonlight, Valiant Brawl, Brutal Incision, Inject Venom, Guillotine Blade, Umbral Spirit, Fatal Sigma, Dead Blow, Willbreaker, Gaia Crash, and the Da Vinci's Courage. As you can see from the gameplay, I don't have all of these same skill icons on my bar. It is because the skill icons will change depending on our specialization setup. So the Brutal Incision will turn into the Thundercloud's Bombing, then Inject Venom will turn into the Lightning Infusion, then Umbral Spirit will turn into the Thunder Spirit, and Gaia Crash will turn into the Frost Cleaving. And then for passive skills, we get the Destructive Fang, Assassin's Instincts, Wrathful Edge, Vital Force, Cold Warrior, Victor's Morale, Robust Constitution, and Murderous Energy. Next we have the skill specialization, and for Stunning Blow we get the cooldown reduction and damage increase. Then for Valiant Brawl get a damage increase. Then for Inject Venom get the Lightning Infusion. Then for Umbral Spirit select the Thunder Spirit. Then for Dead Blow select the cooldown reduction. Then for Gaia Crash get the Frost Cleaving and attack speed increase. Then for Cleaving Moonlight get a consecutive use, effect accumulation and attack speed increase. Then for Brutal Incision get the Thundercloud's Bombing. Then for Guillotine Blade get the charge damage and cooldown reduction. Then for Fatal Stigma get the damage increase. Then for Willbreaker don't select anything. And finally for Da Vinci's Courage get the duration increase. Next we have the Weapon Mastery, and this is how it should look like for the greatsword. So get the middle first and then the entire bottom row, and then lastly go to the top row. And then again this is how it should look like for the daggers. So this time get the middle row fully, and then go to the bottom and get the entire row as well. Next let's take a look at our gear, and all of this you can easily farm yourself. If you're looking for a farming build that uses green gear, then check out my leveling guides that are already up on the channel. So we are using the broadsword of the resistance with traits like the hit, critical hit chance and heavy attack chance. Also, all of this gear should be at their max level, and you can get this item's crafting recipe by defeating the Orb Shadow Priest or the Malakar. Next we have the daggers of resistance with hit chance, critical hit chance and heavy attack chance. You can get it from weapon chests or by defeating the Evil Eye, Adentus, Janabok or the Armadillo. Next we have the visor of the resistance with melee evasion, ranged evasion and max health. You can get it from the blessing pouch or by defeating the Sandworm or the Orc Brawler. Next we have the Warlord Shroud with max health, skill damage resistance and debuff duration. You can get it by defeating the Orc Spearmaster or the Living Armor Foot Soldier. Next we have the Heroic Armor of the Resistance with melee evasion, ranged evasion and max health. You can get it from the enchanted chests or by defeating the Galu Archers. Next we have the Gloomguard Gauntlets with melee evasion, ranged evasion and added attack speed. You can get them from the Death Abyss or the Cave of Desperation. Next we have the Trousers of the Resistance with max health, ranged evasion and magic endurance. You can get them by defeating the Hermit Crab or the Kotori. Next we have the Gladestalker Boots with max health, ranged evasion and magic endurance. You can get it from dungeons like the Cave of Destruction and the Spectre's Abyss. Next we have the Necklace of Clarify with skill damage boost and buff duration. You can get it by defeating the Sand Scorpion. Then we have the Bracelet of the Conquest with max health and skill damage resistance. You can get it by defeating the Skeleton Knight and the Grey Claw Sentry. Next we have the Violent Signet with max health, skill damage boost and buff duration. You can get it from the Cursed Wasteland dungeon. Next we have the Amber Dimensional Band with max health, skill damage boost and buff duration. You can get it by opening the purple armor chests. And finally we have the Belt of the Endless Slaughter with skill damage resistance, debuff duration and max health. You can get it from the Butcher's Canyon dungeon. Next up we have the stats. So at level 50 we want to get 30 strength, 30 dexterity and 30 perception. And then put the rest of your leftover points into strength. Next we have our Guardian choice. And the best one is the Shade Remnant Steno, because he shoots projectiles against all enemies around us. And since we are stacking a lot of heavy attack chance, so this guy will boost our damage the most. And then finally we have come to the gameplay part. So this rotation will be split into two parts, the buff phase and the damage phase. So first of all we start the rotation by using the Da Vinci's Courage, then the Thunder Spirit and then the Lightning Infusion. And then from here we do big damage by using the Willbreaker, Frost Cleaving, Stunning Blow, then Lightning Infusion for the second time, then Fatal Stigma, then Dead Blow, then Galatine Blade, then Thundercloud's Bombing, then Cleaving Moonlight, and then we finish it off with the Valiant Brawl, and then we rinse and repeat. So if you enjoyed this video, click like, subscribe and comment. And if you are interested in more content, then check out my channel, and I will see you in the next one. So take it easy, peace.